so we're not going to be playing this version of the games. We might play a couple of the versions in here, but what we're doing now is just going through their little behind-the-scenes thing to get a good view about what we're getting into. We'll read the beginning to a couple of these, because we're going to be going through the first 4 Castlevanias. But first, let's get through that bonus book. The bonus book to unravel the history of Castlevania series, The History of Castlevania, Book of the Crescent Moon. This book will let you immerse yourself in the world of Castlevania series. To make your game experience much more fulfilling, please read it before and after playing the games. Box Art Gallery. Original packages of the titles included in this collection. Brief presentation of each featured title. Interviews with 2 influential people that helped the Castlevania series. Commentaries on the history of the Castlevania series. I think we're going to have a good time. So, let's get into it. The history of Castlevania. Okay, cool. Wait, I want those controls back. Okay. Alright. Ooh, this is gonna take a second. We're just gonna go through the stuff for the first ones. Like the first Castlevania. You know, do it before, like, go through the ones for the games that we're playing at that time. So we're gonna be going back and forth between the Castlevania Anniversary Collection in the games. Alright. Nice, beautiful Japanese box art showing our hero Simon with a oh my god. Both box arts are honestly wonderful. For both Castlevania and Simon's Quest. It's good shit. That's good shit. And then we're moving on to Castlevania 3 and the 4 box art. Nice. What was the contents? Box art, let's see, the featured titles. Okay, yeah. Castlevania, the start of a legacy that took the world by storm. The one that started it all. The Dark Lord Count Dracula and the hero Simon Belmont clash in epic showdown exquisitely portrayed with a horror aesthetic unusual for the time. It was a huge hit, the perfect 2D side-scrolling action game. Set in the Middle Ages, the game tells the tale of Dracula, a vampire who commands a multitude of monsters in the land of Transylvania after rising from a 100-year slumber. Simon of the illustrious House of Belmont, a clan of vampire hunters, picks up the whip handed down by his ancestors to battle Dracula and vanquish his evil threat. Yes. And then that's going to go into the second one. We'll get to those. We'll actually go ahead and read through. Simon's second adventure, this time in RPG form. This title portrays the continuing adventures of Simon following the events of Castlevania. Unlike the previous installment, this one was developed as an action RPG. It maintains the action elements of its predecessor, but mainly focuses on exploration and puzzle solving within a far more expansive game world. Story. Simon defeated Dracula in his previous adventure, but the Dark Lord placed a curse on him during their battle. The curse can only be undone by gathering all 5 pieces of Dracula's body and then defeating him once more. Nice. I completely didn't even see this. Simon wields a whip as his main weapon, but he can also use items to attack and hinder enemies. You can acquire these support weapons as you battle your way through the game. Note that while it takes 1 heart to use most items, the watch requires 5 hearts. The key to your quest is interacting with townspeople and adapting to the day-night cycle. This title introduces a day-night cycle, which was unique at the time this game was released. Holy shit, I cannot get my words out. The world within this game alternates between day and night cycles every 3 minutes in real time, which affects the what is wrong with it? The world within this game alternates between day and night every 3 minutes in real time, which affects what the player can do. For example, you can only gather information and buy important items in town while it is light outside. Alright, Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse, a world-renowned title with a number of ambitious gameplay elements. This notoriously difficult installment has been praised as a masterpiece of the Castlevania series. The game had a VRC6 chip built into its cartridge, which was developed by Konami. This proprietary chip wowed gamers with music and graphics, which were simply amazing for the time. The core gameplay mechanics were based on the original Castlevania, but it was also filled to the brim with innovative additions, such as a branching storyline. This chip was only included in the Japanese version. Neat! In the 15th century, Dracula conquered a remote region of Europe known as Wallachia. After attempting everything in its power to rid... Why can I not read? After attempting everything in its power to rid the world of the evil vampire, the church that had once stood against the Belmont clan had no choice but to turn to its surviving descendant, Trevor C. Belmont, for salvation. Acting as their last hope, Trevor faces off against the Dark Lord. Nice. Characters you meet on your adventure will join you along the way. Nice. 3 friends. Sypha, Grant, and Alucard. Nice. Trevor will encounter potential allies during his journey who are willing to join him in the war against evil. Player can choose to control them whenever they want. Once they have joined the party, adding a new level of depth to the gameplay. Controlling the right character at the right time is a crucial strategic element of the game. Super Castlevania 4. Castlevania Resurrected for the SNES. With so many changes and improvements, including a larger map design, this remake of Castlevania NES can... I don't know why I said it like this. Can altogether be considered a brand new game. This game tones down the control difficulty somewhat compared to other series titles at the time and featured an increased number of scenes that utilize unique terrain mechanics. In this tiny European nation of Transylvania, a legend is passed along in feared whispers that speak of a dark lord that is resurrected once every century to haunt the world. This prophecy is fulfilled when Dracula once again walks among the realm of the living. Whip in hand, Simon of the Belmont clan bounds towards the vampire's cursed castle. Okay, cool, so just a remake of the first game. Master the unique whip abilities this game has to offer. In the Castlevania NES version, Simon could only latch his whip forward, but this title offers much more freedom. Latch onto a hook to swing across gaps or surprise enemies with a whip attack at their feet. When you have the whip laid out across the ground, you can strike multiple times by mashing the movement buttons. Alright. Anything else? Okay. We're not gonna read this out loud at the minute. Okay, cool. Nice. Nice. A little confusing, but not bad. I think they could have done that a little bit more. I think they could have done that a little bit better. A little bit more concise. Nice. What's the, yeah. Oh, that was a little too zoomed. There we go. Nice. Oxyarticle pattern 8. Why can I not read today? What is my problem? My mouth is filled with butter. Nice. Gotta love this shit. Cool. Alrighty. Love this shit. Garlic wooden stakes and a gun with silver bullets did not make the cut. Would have been really fucking cool. Nice. Such as a guardian spirit bird that provides support and an item that transports the player into a werewolf. Nice. Okay. Next. Alright, and this is all for Simon's quest. I think we'll come back to this later. Actually, hang on one more time. We missed the main part. No, we were actually looking at that. That's exactly what we were doing. Nice. Oh, this is gonna be good shit. Yeah, we'll basically be coming back for either the Game Boy one. No, I love save states, so I don't know what we're gonna do. We might play these, or we might not. I like this collection, but no. Transylvania, small peaceful country in the heart of medieval Europe. The people of Transylvania whisper the legend of Dracula to their children at bedtime, only half believing it to be true. The forces of good keep a watchful eye over the land, protecting all who lives here. But even during the constant vigil, the forces of evil manage to prevail once every century. Each time this happens, human beings with evil hearts begin to chant unspeakable prayers. This is Dracula, the Prince of Darkness, resurrected upon the face of the earth, and each time he is manifested, his powers grow stronger. Once, long ago, Dracula was indeed revived in this manner. However, his ambitions to plunge the world into darkness and build a kingdom of evil were crushed by the hero, Christopher Belmont. Following Dracula's demise at the hands of Christopher Belmont, the Transylvanian countryside slept peacefully for 100 years. Then, one Easter night, the townspeople were celebrating the joyous holiday with a splendid carnival. But, in the ruins of the old monastery on the edge of town, the Fathers of Darkness were holding a black mass to revive the evil count and give him eternal life. They poured a sacrifice of human blood over his remains. As they did so, an ominous thundercloud enveloped the town. Suddenly, a single bolt of lightning pierced the monastery. In that instant, Dracula, the Prince of Darkness, returned to this world to begin a new reign of terror. But all was not lost. The successor of the Belmont family bloodline, a young man by the name of Simon, was determined to rid the evil of Dracula. Didn't get through it fast enough. Kind of want to finish reading it, but that's going to take a second to come back. So we're just going to go ahead and move on to the game at this point. Yeah. Castlevania: The Adventure. Now you're in the misty midst of Dracula's less than welcoming lair. There's no place to hide, no place to run. The only direction you can go is dead ahead into the darkness that is Castlevania. With the taste for sweet revenge on the tips of his fangs, the bloodthirsty Prince of Darkness hungers for a succulent delicacy. And your throat is definitely on his menu. But before you reach this host of horrors, you must risk your neck against multitudes of unearthly evils that lurk around every corner. All told, there are 4 levels of dangerous dark dungeons, torture chambers, and vampire crypts. At the dead end of each, you'll find a primary evil who's waiting to terrorize you. Before proceeding to the next level, you must crush and demoralize, not that it has a lot of morals to speak of, this beast. At the end of the 4th level, you'll enter the Dead of Night, where you'll come toe-to-toe, eyeball to eyeball with everyone's favorite bloodsucker, Count Dracula. And it's here, that you'll either vanquish his midnight powers forever or be initiated into his vampire corpse. Your sole means of protection are your mystic whip and mindful wits, which will lead you through Dracula's menacing maze. Along the way, be sure to light the candles with the tip of your whip. It's a surefire way to unleash life-sustaining items such as hearts, crystals, and crosses of gold. You begin your quest with 3 lives to spare. At 10,000 points, you receive a bonus life. For every 20,000 points thereafter, you'll be granted another reincarnation. Alright. Castlevania 2, Belmont's Revenge. In the first Castlevania adventure, the fearless vampire hunter Christopher Belmont fought toe-to-toe and whip to ring against the vampire king, Count Dracula. Belmont defeated the Count and destroyed his castle, but unfortunately Dracula used what remained of his magical powers to transform his body into mist, thereby making his good escape. However, his powers were so depleted that he left unable to transform back into human form. The Count decided to wait and rebuild his dark forces. Deep inside his black heart, he swore revenge on Christopher Belmont and his family. 15 years later, a ceremony was held in the town of Transylvania. None of that sentence came out right. The son of Christopher Belmont, Soliel Belmont, had come of age, and it was time for the title of vampire to be passed down to him.
The ceremony was to commemorate this occasion. All the citizens of Transylvania rejoiced, hoping that the father-son team of vampire hunters would bring peace to the region forever. But in the morning after the ceremony, it was discovered that Soliel Belmont had vanished into thin air. The ceremony was the chance Dracula had been waiting for. Soliel received great sacred power in the ceremony to mark his adulthood, and Dracula used his last bit of magic to turn Soliel's powers against him, transforming him into a terrible demon. Then, aided by Soliel, Dracula was able to assume human form once again. That evening, to the northeast of the village, the earth shook with a thunderous roar, and 4 ominous castles appeared, and, hidden in the lake at the center of these castles, was another castle. The new lair of Count Dracula. Horrified to learn that his son had been altered by the forces of evil, Christopher Belmont determined to save Soliel and break the ambitions of the Count. He journeyed to the new castles, each ruled by a different power of darkness placed there by the Soliel demon to stop anyone who would tamper with the mystic spell Dracula had cast upon him. Nevertheless, in order to save the village of Transylvania and free his son, Christopher Belmont will blah 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 blah. Don't know why it left me like that. Left me hanging. Kid Dracula. Originally released for the family computer in Japan as Akumaju Dracula Boku Dracula-kun in 1990, Kid Dracula has been for the first time localized in English for this occasion. One day, Kid Dracula arises 10 years from 10 years of slumber. A can of tomato juice in his hand, Kid Dracula was enjoying TV for the first in 10,000 years when, out of the blue, one of his servant bats suddenly bites his head. What the fang is going on? What are you doing to me? Don't you know what I am? The king of this world, Kid Dracula? Hurrah, for Garamoth! Screamed the bat. The bat then fainted, leaving Kid Dracula in confusion. And then, boom! A big scary demon appeared on the TV screen. I conquered the demon realm while you were sleeping like a log. You shall call me the Demon King Garamoth from now on. No, I am king. After Kid Dracula smashed his TV in anger, he put on his dad's cloak and left his castle to go on a journey to defeat this so-called Demon King Garamoth. Nice. We have played almost every one of the games in this list except for Castlevania, Bloodlines, and Castlevania The New Generations. Journey back to 1897 in the Transylvanian countryside of Romania. It was a time of fear and dread for the simple people of this European country. They lived under the dark rule of Count Dracula for many years. He was a ruthless warrior when he was alive, but he is even more terrifying in death. For you see, Dracula is the king of vampires. But even one as powerful as Dracula has enemies. From the early 16th century, the Belmonts, including Trevor, Christopher, and the legendary Simon, had been fighting Dracula and his minions throughout Europe. Finally, in 1897, Quincy Morris, a descendant of the House of Belmont, overcame great odds to defeat Dracula and send him to his eternal grave. Unfortunately, since Quincy was so badly beaten in his battle with the Count, he lost his own life moments after plunging a wooden stake into Dracula's heart. Quincy's legacy has continued, however. His son, John Morris, and John's childhood friend Eric Card had witnessed the Quincy Dracula showdown from the shadows. That scene changed their lives forever as they grew older and swore to rid the planet of the evil creatures of the underworld. 20 years later, Elizabeth Bartley. The name conjures up images of a royal countess who, in the year 1421, was found kneeling over the body of a dead young man. He had 2 puncture wounds in his neck. She was tried as a vampire and found guilty. Her sentence was too gruesome to mention in these pages. What is important is that she was indeed guilty, and not only was she a vampire, she was the niece of Count Dracula. Now, in the ruins of a mysterious castle in Transylvania, an amateur witch by the name of Drolta Tzunes dabbles in the arcane magic. Holy shit. Can't get any of my vowels right. She casts a spell which inadvertently brings Elizabeth Bartley back to the land of the living. Now that she has returned, Bartley is bent toward one goal, reviving her dead uncle, Count Dracula. Cool. That'll be the next one we play. Oh, we're not done yet. In a twist of fate, Morris and Lacard have been drawn towards the ominous castle. Their task is simple. Defeat Bartley before she can complete her macabre objective. Completing their task, however, will involve many perilous encounters and life-or-death acts of bravado. Is that it? Nope, still more. Is your heart strong enough for this challenge? Maybe. Who knows? I don't. Okay. Alright. Nice. Gotta love this beautiful box art. Hang on. How do I zoom in? There we go. Beautiful. Well, our boy looks pretty strange. I prefer the American box art. This is what we'll be playing next, Castlevania Bloodlines, or Castlevania Vampire Killer. Get Dracula! So cute. Probably one of the best games I've, played on the system. The Castlevania Adventure. Castlevania the Adventure. This is the first title in the series to be released on the Game Boy handheld game console. Hardware versions meant the whip was the only item available, but in exchange, it was powered up with different variations that add depth to the strategy of the gameplay. This installment features Christopher Belmont and his fight against Dracula. It's a legendary tale set 100 years before the story of his descendant Simon Belmont. A unique weapon upgrade system not seen anywhere else. Collecting crystal upgrades Christopher's whip. However, the game ramps up in difficulty by downgrading the whip anytime he is damaged by running into an enemy. Nice. Castlevania 2, Belmont's Revenge. This title continues the story of Christopher Belmont following the events of Castlevania the Adventure. His abilities are dramatically improved, including increased speed, and he now has holy water and a battle axe at his disposal. In addition, players are free to brave the 4 starting stages in any order they want. 15 years after Christopher defeated Dracula, his son Soliel falls under the vampire's spell and disappears. With his son's humanity on the line, Christopher embarks once again on an epic quest to challenge the Dark Lord Dracula. Use items skillfully to defeat tough enemies. This title adds items that were unavailable in Castlevania the Adventure. The Holy Water and Battle Axe can be used to take down the numerous tough enemies in the game. We will get here very shortly. Take control of 2 heroes in this new twist in the series. Unlike the medieval setting of the other titles, this installment takes place during World War I. It introduces new elements of the series, such as the ability to choose one of 2 characters when starting the game. Huge bosses with dynamic, multi-jointed limbs that move erratically are just one of the many examples of the cutting-edge effects that the game had for the time. Against the backdrop of World War I Europe, Elizabeth Bartley, a beautiful vampire who proclaims herself to be Dracula's niece, plots to bring the Dark Lord back to life. John Morris of the Belmont clan and his friend Eric Lecard, who bears a grudge against Bartley, set out to stop her. Get to know both characters. Both playable characters can form their own unique actions. Of particular interest are the rope hook and the spear high jump. While performing these actions, the player characters are invincible and will also deal heavy damage to enemies they strike. Okay. Kid Dracula, a spin-off starring a comical rascal. With its laugh-inducing content and world full of gags, this spin-off is unlike anything else in the series. Players take control of Dracula's son, or so he says, Kid Dracula, as he goes on a hilarious adventure filled with laughs that also satisfies as a full-fledged action game. Story. After waking from a 10,000-year slumber, Kid Dracula discovers the monster Garamoth has laid claim to the title of Demon King of the Nebula World. Kid Dracula sets out on an adventure to remind Garamoth who is boss. 6 different magic powers at your disposal. Kid Dracula can charge up his magic power to fire powerful magical bullets that deal 3 times the damage of his normal attack. Each time he defeats a boss in the early part of the game, he gains a new spell, with 6 to collect in total, all of which are detailed on the right. And it seems to be a bunch of Castlevania discussion. And a nice history of Castlevania here. Nice. I'll probably read that on my own at a different time. So much beautiful work. they were gonna have a versus mode. That's pretty cool. That would have been a nice feature to have. Oh, so those jellyfish are called Absorber? Noted. They were a pain in the ass for me. And we'll get to the bloodline stuff eventually. Oh, really cute kid Dracula sketches. Oh my goodness. I thought it was a lot of fun, if not pretty fucking hard. Okay. I think we're done there. Alright. Nice. Okay, we've looked at everything for the most part. We will come back to this when we finish Bloodlines. I thought we had already finished all the games in the Anniversary Collection, but we have not. Nice.